What's going on, everybody? This is Jerome Moore, host and creator of Deep Dish Conversations. And firstly, I want to say thank you for all love and support, and thank you for exploring the perspectives of social change with me on this platform. I want to encourage you all to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube and on your favorite podcast listen platform. And make sure you give us a 5-star rating if you're loving the Deep Dish Conversations. I appreciate all of the support again. I hope you all enjoy this episode.
This is Deep Dish, right?
Yeah, well, let's get deep.
So I'm going deep on both sides.
Ms. Vivian Wilhoite, Davidson County Property Assessor. Welcome to the platform. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for being here. You finna give us a master class in your role as property assessor, and we're gonna alleviate some confusion on, that you have nothing to do with taxes and the raise of why people's taxes are going. That's not what your office does.
At least not technically.
Technically.
Yeah.
And so,
exactly.
we gonna get into all of that. But I want to first start off on just a question that always interests my curiosity on the inspiration, behind getting into this work. I know you were tenured, in politics, served District 29 for 8 years.
Wow.
And did a lot of stuff in real estate prior to that. And on the state level, traveled throughout different counties and did all these things in technology, utilities. I did my research, 30 plus some years,
That's what's up.
and so I'm just curious on being a young lady from Mississippi.
Yes.
And what did that inspiration, did you see yourself in where you are today? And just talk a little bit about that for us.
Wow, that is probably one of my most sensitive question that anyone could ever ask me, because I get kind of worked up about it when I talk about it.
Yeah.
Specifically from Gulfport, Mississippi, the Gulf Coast. That's a whole different part of the whole state of Mississippi, and I think it's probably one of the most beautiful part of Mississippi. When I came to Tennessee State University, I came here as a result of one of my relatives who was the financial aid director, Homer Wheaton. And he's amazing. Everybody knows Mr. Wheaton. Mr. Wheaton, he's legendary and what have you. And so I came here because he was here, and I didn't quite know where I was going to attend college. And so I was here and got into politics on campus, vice president of freshman class, vice president of the sophomore class, rep at large, fighting for what Tennessee State is supposed to be getting from the state of Tennessee, marching all that. And, as a business major, because I started as a computer science major, because of my uncle who was a scientist for IBM, and he has had some major development during that time. And I found out, it's a little bit too much. Let me go with business administration. I love that because it allowed me to be connected to people and to grow from a seed. But nonetheless, got there in business administration marketing and took a class in real estate appraisal. Bam. Now, I was already also had the blessing of being able to work at the housing urban development while I was in school. And it just so happened that I was receiving reports from appraisers who were doing appraising for HUD. And when I would get these reports, I would see the subject, comp 1, comp 2, comp 3. This is the sales approach to value. Didn't know the technical name of it, but I just kind of saw this format, and everything. There was a statement that they stated that they would, adhere to in reference to ethics and all that. Looked it over, and this became pretty intriguing. So after that, in one of my next semesters, that's when I took that real estate class. And it just clicked. I liked it. It was interesting about how values were established in this way. So all I knew was a sales approach, because that's what I was first attracted by.
Right.
And once I took that class, it did not hit me. And in the industry, we say this is a profession that people happen upon. You don't go to school and say, I'm going to be an appraiser. Now I'm meeting some folks now that that interview to want to come and work for us that say that. But nonetheless, I was in the career center senior year, didn't know where I was going to do what I was going to do next.
Right.
saw in the Career Center a position at the Tennessee Public Service Commission for a real estate appraiser 1.
Right.
Bam. I took that announcement down off the wall so nobody else would apply.
Stole the announcement.
For real. I took it down, and look, we didn't have, this.
Right.
Seriously, didn't have that. So you weren't going to find on the internet. You weren't going to find a newspaper because nobody was reading no newspaper, So after, so I really purposely went after the job, went to my mentor's Easter egg hunt, Senator Thelma Harper's Easter egg hunt, with the intent to talk to her about the job because it was a state job.
Right.
And met Mayor Bill Boner. He was leaving that Easter egg hunt with Julius Sloss, who was later a council person and now worked for Metro government as well, and told them I was interested in his job. And Bill Boner said, well, Julius, he said, well, hey, Mayor, I know someone over there, Steve Hewlett, and he's a good friend of ours. Oh, we'll write a reference letter. I said, thank you so much. So they did that, and I went to the interview, and I was hired on the spot.
Wow.
And the rest is history. Now, what's so interesting about being a real estate appraiser for the Public Service Commission, making this 360-degree journey back to where I am today, for the state of Tennessee, the Tennessee Public Service Commission appraises the properties for the ad valorem, for ad valorem purposes, tax purposes now,
Right.
for the competitive telephone, electric, and railroad, and utilities.
Right.
So I was an appraiser for the railroad, railroad properties.
Right.
I was appraising AT&T properties.
Right.
But they gave me the responsibility of cell towers.
Right.
I was appraising properties owned by for-profit, the gas company, the water company.
Right.
So I was doing then
Right.
what I'm in charge of doing now.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
That's amazing. That's amazing.
That's just crazy.
But that lets me know and voters, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
you was prepared, right? You didn't.
God prepared.
It wasn't a learning curve
Yeah.
that you had to come in when you came into this seat. It wasn't a learning curve that you had to really
Not
catch
as large.
up. Yeah, not as large, not as significant one.
Yeah.
Like, it's the
Yeah.
organizational structure,
Yeah.
new place, new office.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's always something to learn.
Absolutely.
As far as understanding, assessing.
Absolutely.
You understood that already.
Absolutely.
And you already had the skills. So that's amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
It's just so great, and it almost gives me goosebumps,
Now.
when I think about it. So that's how I got here in a nutshell. So many little small
Right.
blessings of stories along
Right.
that way.
Right, for
but
sure.
it was God's plan.
And so
Yeah.
now, being the property assessor of
Yeah.
Davidson County, I don't think many people really actually know kind of what that means, what your job entail. They just hear property, and a lot of times, a lot of people say, "Okay, well, how much is my property value?"
Yeah.
And then they associate that with how much property tax
That's
am I
right.
going to pay, and that's probably as far as to go until until an appraisal happens, which is every 4 years.
That's
here.
right.
Right, many people probably aren't too worried or concerned. Regular everyday homeowners.
That's right.
It just kind of
And business owners.
and business owners.
That's
right?
right.
They just when it comes,
Yeah.
then I'll address it. Right.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
So can you give us a breakdown, right,
Yeah.
of your role and the impact and the significance that it plays on the residents here in Nashville?
Okay. Well, first of all, as the assessor of property and my amazing staff, we're responsible for identifying, listing, classifying, appraising residential and commercial property and personalty for ad valorem tax purposes, meaning for tax purposes added value, ad valorem. So we're responsible for doing that work now for 274 parcels in Davidson County.
Wow.
When I took the position, when I was elected to the position in 2016, we had approximately about 250,000 parcels. So look at the divide, 240,000 parcels.
Right.
So look at the number of parcels we've grown by
Right.
from 2016 to 2022.
Right.
That's just freaking amazing,
That's
okay?
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's like leaps and bounds. You can
Right.
actually give that type of description to it. And so with my amazing staff, we go out to, when we get information from the permit office where people are saying, I am going to build a house over here, or 200 apartments, or a Starbucks or anything, okay?
Right.
Matter of fact, we get permits and somebody's going to put up a fence, all right? But we go out and check those permits and look at the progression that the property owner is making in building what they what they paid the money and said that they're going to build. And we continuously look at that property until it's completed.
Okay.
Now, for existing property, of course, we are constantly going to see if they're going to be making improvements. So if you say, hey, I'm going to add like 1,800 square feet to my home or 500 or 600 square feet to my home, we go out and check the progression of that work.
Okay.
Because you are now adding value to your home.
Right.
All right. So we're responsible for identifying, listing, classifying, and appraising taxable property. That's a key word because the properties are not taxable, like the courthouse or the certain schools, public schools.
Okay.
Those are not taxable because those are facilities that are owned by the government.
Okay.
I mean, why would you tax the people and then tax yourself?
So-
That doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense, right? Because you're trying to bring in a
Right,
revenue.
right.
So that's our responsibility. How does it impact Nashville? In a very huge way. One of the most largest income stream of any city or town is the payment of taxes.
Okay.
And it starts with a value.
Okay.
It's in the law that says how much you're going to pay
Right.
in taxes on that total value.
Okay.
The law have those type of parameters. So in the law,
Right.
if your home is $100,000 valued by my office, the law says you'll pay on 25% of that. That's
Okay.
$25,000.
Okay.
If you're a business and we have you valued at $100,000, the law says you'll pay on 40% of that.
Right.
That's $40,000. And then, of course, if it's personalty, like tables, chairs, computers, the law says you'll pay on 30% of that value if we have your personalties value at $100,000. So you're going to pay on 30% of that. So you don't pay on the whole amount. If you did, you'd really be mad.
And so look, let's get into it because now
All right.
you because you bringing up taxes.
That's right. I'm bringing up values.
You bringing up value, in which that's how your taxes, that tax number.
starts with that value.
It starts with that value. Now, in a growing city, if I'm a Nashville native.
Okay.
Right? A lot of generations. Right.
Okay. Can I call you Jay?
You can call me Jay.
Okay.
Yeah, you can call me Jay.
Jerome, Jay.
Jay,
Okay.
you can call me Jay.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so if I have a home,
Okay.
right, and I paid that home off, I've been here, my family's been growing up here, this house has been passed down.
Okay.
But now, my neighborhood is being gentrified.
All
right?
over the world.
All over the world, right?
Amen.
Especially in inner city communities, right? And, a lot of these folks, like, that are coming from California,
Yeah.
New York, Chicago, which is happening here in Nashville.
That's right.
Is bringing up the property value of this neighborhood, right? So
Okay.
you come out and,
Bringing up the property value. Let's put a pin in that one. We're going to come back to bringing up the property value. Okay.
right? And so
All right.
now, the value of my property
Yeah.
has increased.
Gone up.
Right? Now, that means my tax amount for this property has also gone up, which, I don't, can I pay this?
Okay.
How does your office respond to that? Because I'm pretty sure people say, "Hey, hold on, I can't afford this. This 25-30% increase."
Sometimes they say that.
right?
Sometimes people say, I want to pay my fair share of taxes, okay?
Right.
We know some people who don't want to pay their fair share, right?
But
We know some people don't want to pay anything, right?
Don't pay any taxes at all, right?
That's right.
And so, because of this growth,
Yes.
and to no fault of just a booming city, these things happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes, people are fixed incomes.
Yeah.
A lot of times, especially if you've been here for a long time.
Absolutely.
How and I know this program is in place and stuff, but how does your office respond to that and just help educate people? Because I knew that was a big kind of component of your campaign, like outreach and education.
Amen.
And so how has your office been able to do it and respond to this growth and respond to community members that have been here like, hey, like this is crazy. Like I can't, like what can you all do to help me?
That's right. Great. A lot of questions in there. A lot of things we can
unpack.
A lot of things we unpack. So let's start with the fact that your parents bought the house a long time ago.
Right.
And they passed it on to you.
Right.
So they bought it for, let's keep this simple for the listeners, for the viewers, all
Right.
right? They bought it for $1.
Okay.
Okay, they bought it for $1.
Right.
And in the real scheme of things, let's say they bought it for $10,000, $20,000, but they bought it for quite a bit less. But at that time, that was considered a lot of money then, right? For that person. Okay. When you bought your home, and we're talking about finances, you want things to depreciate or appreciate. Will you rather your house go down in value or go up in value?
I want it to go up.
There you go. So it's appreciation is what you're looking for in reference to your investment. You want a return on it, right?
Right.
So in time, as time go on, people say, okay, I'm going to live on this side of town. I'm going to pay you $5 for it. So now the home that you bought for $1 is now in the eyes of that buyer worth $5. Right. All right, and it's worth in another eyes of a buyer worth $10. Okay,
right.
And worth in another eyes of a buyer is worth $4. So your home is now worth in what range? If we want to just take this example, $4 to $10. That's how much you get. You already got, if you bought it for $1, you'd already made money on your investment because the worth is in the eyes of the buyer, okay? Today, we have what is called a seller's market. All right, it's not the buyer's market; it's a seller's market because everybody want to live in Nashville.
Right.
Okay, at least that's what it looks like.
That's what it look like.
I don't know wherever else anybody else is living because I think they're all here. You know, when I drive downtown, I'm like, is anybody here? Not here. So my point in that is that first of all, when you buy your home, you didn't buy it for it to depreciate. You bought your home for it to appreciate.
Right.
All right. So when that happens, that is influenced. The appreciation is influenced by the market. There are three approaches to value: the sales approach, the income approach, and the cost approach.
Right.
And the sales approach is the example that I just gave you. Somebody said your house to them, they'll buy it for $4. You bought it for $1, but they want to buy it for $4.
Right.
Somebody want to buy it for $10.
Right.
Somebody want to buy it for $5. Who are you going to sell it to if you wanted to sell?
I'm going with the 10.
There you go. And guess what? You just influenced the market. You just told me that when I live next door to you, that my house, if it looks like yours, I can get at least 10.
Right.
As a person who is an appraiser, we look at, okay, so that's a sale that we can use to tell this other person, I'm the assessor, to tell another person who has not sold, who's still living there, what is their home worth when it's time for us to do the reappraisal, which we do every 4 years.
Right.
Now, we don't use just one sale now. Don't get us wrong.
Right.
We use a number of sales. In Nashville, we have plenty of sales to look at.
Right.
But when we're doing these approaches to value, we have to look at homes that are similar to a home that's sold. So I'm not going to compare your home, Jerome, to a home that is a super modern home next door to you, but they tore down that home that did look like yours.
Right.
That helps us establish our land sales values, okay? But that super modern home, we're not going to compare that home to your home that you bought that your parents bought a long time ago and passed on to you.
Right.
We're going to look at another home because there's plenty of them that are not torn down, but they're sometimes renovated.
Right.
That improves value when it's renovated. So as you see, we continuously be cognizant of the fact of the comparison of what we're making to arrive at the value for your home.
Okay.
So as you see, that happens. All right. So now you're talking about as we get along, people say, I can't afford this. Well, there are some things in place if people meet, if that household meets the criteria to get help in reference to paying their taxes.
Okay.
And that is a service that has been established by the state of Tennessee legislators, and they put that in the qualifying for the program. Let's say that, qualifying for the program with the trustee's office.
Okay.
So the trustee's office does that in reference to qualifying for those programs. Still, and I want to make one other point in reference to that whole line of questions you've asked.
Right.
When you're talking about gentrification, a lot of ways gentrification happening is all about whether your government is investing in your neighborhood. So when your government is not investing in your neighborhood is looking dilapidated. You don't have no sidewalks. You don't have any street lights. All of that. That's another form, in my opinion, gentrification.
Right.
All right. But when your government starts investing in your neighborhood, what happens? People want to move there.
Right.
You got really nice sidewalks.
Right.
You got these historical looking, light poles. You got all other type of amenities and services in that community.
Right.
Schools thriving, neighborhoods great. You got a great library you can walk to.
Right.
When they start investing, people want to move there.
Right.
But when they're not investing, That's gentrification. When they're investing, when they're not investing, that's a part of the gentrification process.
Right.
But when they start investing, we need to be aware and we need to hold on to our properties. Everyone, I think in neighborhoods that want to keep neighborhoods looking and feeling the same cultural look, you want to keep investing in your property and hold on to your property.
And so when I was doing my research for this, because I'm learning too, right?
Yeah.
About this the property
so am I.
assessment.
Yeah.
Right? But you the master right now.
Nah.
You giving us you the master. You the assessor. You the master right
I'm in process, but
you the master in learning still, right?
Yeah, with an amazing staff.
And the staff, right?
Yeah, with amazing staff, yeah.
And so I seen that like people can appeal. People can make appeals on their property value.
Yes.
But this is also what I came across. And I want us to dive in this as well. And so it was talking about the disparities, right? And the assessing market, right? One find that I made, I'm gonna come back to this, but I just want to put it out there.
Okay, sure.
According to the Urban Institute, 89% of all property appraisers and assessors are white. Only 2% are black and 5% are Hispanic. So I just want the people to sit out there with that.
Yeah.
Because again, historically, Miss Vivian is the first African American person of any gender to sit in this role.
Correct.
And voted by Nashville citizens.
And I think that is a Tennessee stat too, as well.
Right. Okay.
It can almost apply nationally. In
I
a sense.
think this is from the Urban Institute. This is a national take, nationwide take. But so what I want to hit on immediately is that when it comes to appeals, one of the reasons they said for the disparity is minority homeowners are less likely to appeal their assessment and less likely to win them when they do.
Okay.
And so when it comes to, because appraisals can be given, especially in homeowners, by banks and things like that.
Right.
Some people even say this, the discrimination of home appraisals, modern day redlining.
Okay. All right.
And this is twofold, because one is this is a part of who you are as a black person.
Absolutely.
Right? It affects you, it affects our culture.
Absolutely.
Right? But also you're in a position that you understand how this works. How does your office impact this? And also how does your blackness play a role in this, and kind of the fair equity that you try to create here in Nashville?
Well, a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
there.
That's why I want to focus on the appeals, and then kind of go back to the lack of representation in the appraisal assessor profession.
All of information that I have discussed with my upper staff. We've talked about this. We kind of family like when it comes to my upper staff. With Randy Ward, who is the Chief Deputy of Operation. We have Christy Scott, who is Chief Deputy of Administration, sister and attorney. We have Brad Pigg, who's Chief Deputy of IT, because data, like you're just speaking of, he doesn't retain that type of data, but data in reference to appeals and how many successful, how many not successful. We maintain all the information and everything we've done over history. And then we have Tammy Williams, who is a chief deputy of the executive office, where I'm in, to help keep me on time for things like this.
Shout out to Miss Williams.
And so many other things, absolutely. So, the questions you just asked, going back to that first thing when you talked about when I ran for office, and I talked about doing outreach. Since I took office in 2016, we have done more than 200 outreach presentations.
Wow.
And we don't care if there are 2, 1, or a gazillion people in the room. Many times we create also the outreach, such as me reaching, you saying, come to the show. I'm saying, I want to be there. And we really proactively say, we there. Right. We want to be there as soon as possible, because it's all about educating and informing consumers so they can make the right decision. So when you look at me as African-American, the first African-American woman, all right, yes, of course, I am African-American. But one of the things of this profession that I try to make sure we are doing, and so does my staff, is to be fair.
Right.
Being fair is not supposed to have a color.
Right.
Being fair is just biblical. It's just what we are supposed to do. We got to be our brother's keepers, right? So when we're pursuing a value, whether it be a value for the sales approach, income approach, and the cost approach, we're just talking about being fair. But now we're human. And we can make mistakes.
Right.
And that is where the appeals process plays a great role. That's one of the reasons why we constantly are proactive and really pushing to let people know you can appeal your value. Why? It's your right.
Right.
You need to know about your right.
Okay.
And sometimes not knowing about your right is because that revolving door hasn't come to you yet for you to say, okay, this is a service I need.
Right.
For instance, what a difference a day can make. Life could have been hard. Life was hard for 1 million Americans
Right.
just these past 2 years because of this pandemic.
Right.
All right? And if you really believe that your value shouldn't be the value that is, because it's been a pandemic, my value can't be this much. But unfortunately, Nashville never stopped growing, even through the pandemic. You can ask Lowe's that. You can ask Home Depot that, and look at the building around you. So my point is that appealing that value and getting out on a radio, whether it be 92Q, whether it be a conservative radio station, 99.7.
Right.
We want everybody to know you can appeal your value because that is an opportunity for us to really talk with the property owner to let them know how we did our work. We don't have nothing to hide. You know what I mean? So they can bring to us information that we might not know. Now, I do want to add something else.
Yep.
As an appraiser of property, and you were talking to 2%, where there's only 2 African-American assessor of properties in the state of Tennessee, Shelby County and Nashville, all right? I'm the 3rd African-American in the state of Tennessee.
Wow.
Shelby County had the 1st and the 2nd. I'm the 3rd, and now the 4th was elected after me, which was in Shelby County. So there's only 2. But what I'm saying in reference to trying to bring about fairness, that is an organizational mission, because at the end of the day, the property owned by residential and commercial owners, we have commercial owners that said our value is too high. And we've had commercials owner and residential owners say we want it higher. Why? Because they want to sell it for a certain amount. But we tell people don't look at our value for sellability. That's when you need to do a fee appraisal. Mass appraisals when you look at a large group of properties at one time in sets by neighborhood, and fee appraisals when you're going to the bank and the bank hires an appraiser to appraise your home, just specifically your home, because you're trying to do a refinance. You're trying to take money out of your home because you've built equity, that type of thing. So those are 2 different things.
And so
2 different type of appraisals.
And so do your staff and does your team in the office, do you all do you all measure for any disparities that could be there at this particular moment?
So going to the disparity when as a mass appraiser.
And let me purpose it this way.
Okay.
Let me purpose it this way.
Sure.
Just to set it up in context, because we know white tax assessors place a heavier tax burden on Black residents intentionally overhauling their property in the Jim Crow area.
Okay.
And this property was used, this property tax. I know you don't do taxes, but I do taxes,
but I do the appraisal.
So do the appraisal.
Because the equation, in order to arrive at a tax payment,
you
have to start with a value. Yeah.
And so in these taxes was to punish homeowners and churches that boycott white businesses and host civil rights meetings.
Well, that happened. That did happen.
And so systemically, right, this took away a lot of generational wealth from people of color.
Absolutely.
And that's why I wonder. We can't go back and change it, but we can say, okay, now we know that happened. We can measure for it and making sure that we remain fair and equitable in our modern day.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm curious if the office collects that data and is continuing trying to make sure that things are fair and equitable. And if it's not, what is happening? Yeah.
Well, first of all, collecting the data in reference to saying this person was Black, they came to appeal.
Right.
What did we do? Right. This person was white. They came to appeal. What did we do? We do not collect that data right now. Okay? All right. That's the first thing.
Okay.
But beginning from that, when you're walking in for, depending on which level of appeal you're doing. Right now, we just completed the informal review. That's the first opportunity to appeal your value.
Okay.
All right? Got out, told everybody, as soon as you get your tax bill, we begin to tell you, appeal your value. Okay. After that, that bill, after that tax bill you receive, we open up on November 1st, because a lot of people don't pay attention to the value that we sent them in the reappraisal year, because that value stays the same for the next 4 years. They get excited. What happened? Why am I paying more in taxes? That's what they think at that moment. And sometimes they find out they're really paying less. But nonetheless, that's the first step. We're about to close that out, because we gave people from November. We gave property owners from November 1st up until April the 29th at 4 p.m. to file an informal review. Okay? We're going to file those. We're going to notify property owners by law. We have to notify them by May 20th of this year, because they filed, and it's the deadline, and they'll know what is our decision. That's an informal review. So we take the opportunity to take a look at what is the property and what have you. But guess what? We don't know what color that person is. If they call us by phone, we're going to assume that your name is Jakika. They must be black.
Right.
We don't know that.
Right.
We do not know that. So purposely, we don't have that type of information. Right. Whether you black, white, whatever, we do not have. We ask, what do you think the property is worth?
Right.
We ask, why do you think the property is worth that? Give us some comparables that you believe should be the comparables we should be looking at to justify your value. All right. And listen, our site is wide open, so you can find those sales yourself. They're all there. So that's the first thing. That's why I know we're fair. Okay. Now, let me say this. Being here as an African American, of course, I'm going to make sure and ensure that we're not doing that. Right. All right. And I believe that we're not doing that. At least not while I'm sitting in this chair. Right. Not this chair, but that chair. The assessor's chair. But my point is, the data that you're speaking of, that was found in places like Cook County, in Chicago, okay, that was found in which dealt with matter of fact they
DC,
went exactly.
Yeah.
So to understand that it's not baked into the process, that's what you're speaking of. We looked at having ourselves audited. We talked with the state about it. The state understood where it comes from. Understood where we were coming from. As a member of the International Association of Assessing Officers, which is representing all 3,000 counties across the United States, and members and assessors like myself and tax reps and what have you are members of that organization. This was a topic of issue in our last conference. Okay. And Cook County was the center point. And guess where we were? In Chicago. And there was a lawsuit that was done where they were doing overappraising, making it very difficult for property owners, African American property owners, to pay their taxes. Right. So I think that what we do here in Nashville, Tennessee, Davidson County, what we do here, as far as since I've been on board, we make sure that we let people know what are your rights, okay? We make sure we let people know, get the information that you believe where we're wrong. Because guess what? We could be wrong. Why? Because we're human.
So
all right.
Is an audit coming, or is that something you are considering?
We've talked about it. We've talked about it. We have not done it as of yet. But I've been told that the International Association of Assessing Officers could provide that audit. They could do that. So this is something that's already we're talking about. But at the same time, we're very cognizant about when people walk into our office and we're understanding who they are, we still have to look at the data in reference to the sales that happen in that neighborhood. We can't say, well, this person, and we can't, because it wouldn't be fair. And I'm going to tell you why it wouldn't be fair. This person walks in and they say, I only make so much money, and I live, let's say, on historic Jefferson Street, and my home is just one street over, and you guys have me appraised at, $400,000. That's real. Those are real numbers. $400,000. I just can't pay that. Now, my heart is bleeding. But guess what? Whether you black, white, and perfect, your heart should be bleeding anyway. But nonetheless, okay, so what is it that we have to do? Do we give the concession because this person said they can't pay? But then you have a person next door to them, same way, same value, and they can pay. How do we know that information? We don't. We don't ask for it. We don't ask people to submit it to us. What we are telling that property owner is that The sales in this neighborhood for your home is saying your home is worth that much.
Right.
The market is dictating that.
Right.
When the market is not dictating what we are saying your home is worth, that is when you say there's an inequity. You follow me?
Yeah.
That's when you can say, you can almost do the study yourself.
Right.
Who have we said is $1 million in that market, and there's no $1 million home around there to justify our value?
Right.
All right? There's no $1 million home around there to justify our value.
Right.
That's when you say there's an inequity. But if there is the values that justify the property that you have and the things that we're using that we're comparing your property to,
Right.
then if we're not doing that, it's an equity. If we're doing that, you can say, that's what it's selling for. And then you ask the question, what would you sell it for? Would you sell it for what you're saying we should lower it to so your taxes should be lower?
I'm gonna sell it to the prices that you appraise it at that higher market.
Or what you know that it's worth.
Yeah.
Okay? So you can't have it both ways.
Right.
So that's the reason why it's so very important that we educate people about the programs that are available to help people to be sustained in those homes. And education, although that has been anointed to the trustee's office, that's everybody's job.
Right.
That's your job. It's my job.
Right.
The trustee can't touch everybody.
Right.
But she's doing a good job in trying to do that, Erica Gilmore.
Yep.
I'm just saying, we all have to take responsibility to be our brother's keeper. You got a mother, you have an aunt or uncle that lives in a home in an area that has been gentrified.
Right.
They may not be in Nashville. They may be in another city.
Right.
I think as a family member, you should be trying to do your very best to make sure Uncle John and Aunt Jane can stay in their home until they pass away and pass that on as a generational wealth to another family member.
Right.
We got to take responsibility for that. Now, that still does not remove the fact that these occurrences have happened.
Right.
And does not remove the responsibility, the fact that these occurrences are still happening somewhere.
Right.
I'm not putting that on you as the family member and the property owner. I'm just saying that as an assessor of property, I think that one of the most key things that I can do is to educate people about what is out there. Be transparent and keep pushing that because it's a revolving door.
Right.
Today, Jay, you look like you're 25 years old, but guess what? One day you are going to be 65,
Right.
which is the qualifying age to get on those programs.
Okay.
All right. So with that being said, when you turn 65, when you was 24 or 26 or whatever, you were vibing, you were making the money. Something happened in your life and caused you to not be able to, take care of things like you want to.
Right.
You want to pay your bills. So now, is this program available? Now you want to hear about it because you're not going to hear about it when you're 25, 26 because
Right.
you're vibing now. You don't need it. But you should hear about it when you're 25 and 26 so you can help your family members and you can help yourself later on. So we have to keep educating the people of Davidson County that the availability of these programs, and we have to keep on those on the heel with the Tennessee General Assembly to ensure that they adjust the plan to meet the situation. If it's 65, we got people struggling. Even as a senior, being a member of AARP, you can start at 55 now.
Right.
So why can't you qualify at 55 instead of 65?
Right.
Those type of things of adjusting the legislation to help more people, broaden the pool of people who could qualify so that people can stay in their home. Those are the type of things that we need to be pushing for. And I'm pushing for as an assessor of property because those are things that affects my office. Because we have people who come in and say, "Hey, I can't deal with this value you gave me." But what can we do when we know that we are binded by the best practices and we're binded by the laws that govern how we do appraisal and mass appraising?
As the property assessor, every 4 years, you all assess property
Right.
here in Davidson County.
That's the law.
That's the law.
You could do 5 years. You can do 6 years.
Some counties are different.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Some counties are different.
Okay.
And also we're looking at, the possibility of how we can go to every 2 years.
Okay.
Now that sounds crazy when you're talking about you getting a new value.
Right.
But it's really not that crazy. Matter of fact, it's almost beneficial for property owners.
So I wanna talk about you all's relationship to banks.
Oh wow. Okay.
Now, the last property assessment was 2021, right? A year ago, right?
That's right.
And so.
And when is the next one? Come on,
4
come on,
years.
come on.
So
Wait, come on.
2025.
There you go. You passed your math class.
And so
That's
2025.
Right after I'm elected, 2024, right?
Yep, exactly. Precisely. And so let's say I want to sell my house between those 4 years.
Okay.
Right? And they come and assess.
I love your questions.
The bank come and appraise my home, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And the appraisal is less than maybe I feel it is, right? And I might even feel like, I know there's that out there that if I didn't have my black photos in here,
I
my
saw
family,
that, yeah.
or maybe if I just,
Yeah.
maybe, and so let me get another appraisal.
Yeah.
And let me have one of my white friends appears and take down some pictures.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then let's start with the dollar, right?
Yeah.
Just go back to the dollar.
Uh-huh.
One appraisal come and say, hey, your house is worth $1.
Uh-huh.
Right?
The first one.
The
when
first one.
When
The
he
first
knew
one.
that there was a black person that lived there.
And then the second appraiser comes and says, okay, it's white. Oh, okay, your worth is $10, right? Now, how are they justifying the appraisal that they're getting versus the appraisal that your office is getting?
I know the story, and that's, in my opinion, that's just straight up racial bias. I mean, that's straight up discrimination with what happened there. Now,
Right.
Now, to answer
far as
your
the
question,
relation-
but to answer your question, as I told you earlier, we do mass appraisal.
Okay.
Okay? We give you a market value, the market value at that time, in our opinion, because an appraisal is an opinion.
Okay.
As of the year of the reappraisal, 1/1/2021.
Okay.
All right? Go on down the road. All right? Let's go a year later. Let's go to now.
Yeah.
Let's go to now. That value we gave you, let's just say, in general, all right? Right now, do you think the value we gave you in 1/1/2021 compare that value to what you think the value should be in 2022? Do you think that value went up or went down?
Went up.
Most likely.
Most likely.
Okay, all because of what we see visually,
Yeah.
what's going on in the market. It could stay the same.
Right.
So my point of saying is that conditions of the market is very important. That's why a fee appraiser must do it, which is what you
talking
described.
about, right.
You just described the work of a fee appraiser.
Okay.
We're mass appraisers. We're doing 274,000 parcels, looking at 850 neighborhoods across Davidson County that we've identified. This is a neighborhood, this is a neighborhood, that's 850. Now we have more than 850.
Right.
But my point is, those are two different type of appraisals. Now the fee appraiser is going to tell you the current market value right now on the day that you asked for it during that period. We gave you a value a year ago.
Okay.
That value stays the same for the next 4 years because it is for tax purposes.
Got it.
It's for tax purposes.
Gotcha.
That's what we tell people, but we know there's some people out there who have used our values to approach someone elderly who have no idea and say the tax assessor the property assessor property, because I'm not the tax assessor.
Right.
They have you downtown at this amount. Now they're talking to them on this day as we're speaking.
Right.
And you just said most likely that property has appreciated from a year ago.
Right.
Now that is some sneaky stuff, isn't it?
Right, for
but
sure.
that has happened. I've heard the story. I tell people, do not use our value unless it's in the reappraisal year.
Right.
And even then, you still should get a fee appraisal because market is very fluid. Of course, an appraisal is good for about 6 months to a year,
Right.
but we're not giving you a fee appraisal. We're giving you a market value.
Right.
So my point in what the example that you brought up,
Right.
what happens? What should we do?
Right.
What should we do as the assessors? First of all, that's two different type of appraisal.
Okay.
Okay. But when that has happened, could it be based on something that's happened in market? Not likely when you're going from $1 to $10 within a month.
Right.
Okay. We know what has happened and it's already been tested by what the person did. Removed the pictures of color in the house and made it appear as if it was a white person that lived there.
Right.
That influenced the value in that person's head because now it's a white person's home, not a black person's home.
Right.
So our appraisers, when we're going out doing mass appraisal, we have neighborhoods that are
Predominantly white, black, Hispanic, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. But what is driving the market?
Okay.
What's driving the market?
Right, the value.
And they come from sales.
Right. Well, what are people paying?
Sales.
What are people
That's
paying?
right, sales. So one of the things that person did, I'm sure, because it was clear. I mean, you can't miss it. When they got that first appraisal and they said this amount, they said, "How is that possible?"
Right.
For one, they knew where they lived.
Right.
It probably was a mixed neighborhood or a somewhat white neighborhood, and they were one of few people that lived in the neighborhood.
Right.
Okay, and knew what other people homes sold for.
Right.
You can get on our website and take a look at it. What's the sales that's going on around my house?
Right.
Now, if my house is the lowest sale of all of them, and it looked like the other homes are selling around me,
Right.
that's a red flag.
Exactly.
They say, okay, well, let's go change this.
Right.
You know, and then they put in those different type of criteria. Now it's a white person's home.
Right.
Remove all the pictures and saw instantly what had happened.
Right.
You know, that's one of the reasons why, Jerome, I tell people this is a profession that maybe that's happenstance, that just, you know, you don't go to college to become an assessor or go to college to become an appraiser, but you should.
Right.
You should do it intentionally.
Right.
It's just like any other profession that has predominantly dominated by white men or whites in general or any other type color.
Right.
I mean, if it was dominated by just, you know,
2%. They
men,
just put
period.
it's 2%.
Yeah, exactly. So why
Right.
not pursue it? Because it's a profession that's wide open,
Right.
like any other profession. So I think that it's something that people of color and African Americans, black people, and people of color should look to go into the profession. And that was one of the things that I challenged my former predecessor in reference to my predecessor is a better word, to do this in reference to increasing minorities in the field.
Right.
And applaud him. I applaud him. He did pursue that. But when I came on board, I made it intentional because we do need to expand our representation, because guess what? We are representing that same group of people. It's important that we do that, and we've done that. Matter of fact, we had maybe 3 African American males in the office. Now we have about 15.
Wow. But I think a lot of that is due to your presence.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
And
It
the
just-
consciousness of my staff. My staff have come to me because they know I'm about it.
Right, yeah.
I guess y'all don't say that anymore. About it. Can you say that anymore? About it. You know.
still say about it.
Since they saw that I was about it, you know, they come to me and give
Right.
me ideas because they know I'm about it.
Right.
And that is what we're supposed to do. Because guess what? That's what our constituency look like.
Right.
It looks like the people we serve in my
Right.
office. Yes.
And so I want to go a little deeper on this deep dish.
All right.
You know, again, I want us. This is a master class for us.
All right.
Now you make an appraisal.
Okay.
Like every 4 years.
Every 4 years.
Right. And from my understanding, the decision of what type of tax increase will happen is the mayor's decision along with the council's decision.
You are very right.
Okay.
The mayor proposes.
Okay.
The council confirms.
Okay.
That's the way. That's the balance of your body, your legislative. Your government body.
And so that tax increase, once your office and your staff has done that appraisal.
In the reappraisal year we're speaking of? In the reappraisal year, of course.
Yeah, in the reappraisal year.
Okay.
And the next one is 2025 for people who missed it earlier.
Yes.
And so in the reappraisal year, once the mayor proposes an increase and the council either, approves it or, say, hey, maybe we should look this over.
Right.
What type of say-so does your office have on, or if any, on that increase?
0.
Okay.
0.
So once the reappraisal is done, you all are out of the picture for after that point.
Well, we play a certain role in the reappraisal year
Okay.
to ensure that the city does not get a windfall of revenue
Okay.
as a result of the reappraisal.
Okay.
And so when I say we play a role, we give data so that a calculation can be made, so a tax rate can be composed, and an allowance must be decided on in reference to saying how much the city can make. That's decided on by the administration. So once the administration chooses the allowance, then we help to provide that information regarding a tax rate that will bring zero revenue to the city. Why? Because in a reappraisal, you can clearly assume that there's going to be some increase in values, okay? If you were to use the tax rate prior to the reappraisal and keep that tax rate, then the city gets a windfall of money, okay?
Okay.
So the city cannot incur a windfall of money, so the tax rate that was at the time of the reappraisal was being done has to be adjusted.
Okay.
And usually that seems like it's downward because if some values are going to go up, you got to balance it out with the tax rate to ensure that there's no extra money coming in.
Right.
That's called a windfall.
Okay.
The law protects the city from that, protects the property owners from that. So the tax rate in 2021 was kept the same when the zero tax rate, called a certified tax rate, was provided. It was 3.155. Okay. It's the third lowest tax rate in Davidson County's history. The tax rate went down prior to the reappraisal. Let's say December 31st, 2020. The tax rate was 4.593. 4.593 per $100, okay?
Right.
When the reappraisal was done, everything was in place. This is the data of what was the increase on some property, blah, blah, blah. Administration chooses their allowance that they want to go with. Then the tax rate is approved by the state of what they think it would be to be zero revenue from the existing properties.
Okay.
So it went to 3.155. The tax rate went down. Property owners and Davidson Countyans got confused because in the reappraisal, we discussed that values since 2017 had increased by a median of 34%. So prior year, when the tax rate went up to 4.593, it went from 3.155 to 4.593. That was a 34% increase. So they were confusing the prior year tax rate that went up. They kept that conversation going into the reappraisal year, still talking about that 34% 34% increase in the tax rate from 3.155 to 4.953. And they kept that conversation going. So when we did the reappraisal, it just so happened the reappraisal increase of value, medium increase, was 34%. So people were still thinking about that 34%, when in fact, the tax rate went down to the third lowest tax rate in Davidson County history.
And so now,
deep, isn't it?
it's deep because I know y'all got accused, I think in like 2017 for that shortfall.
Yeah, we got accused, but you know what? We were wrongly accused. Oh, that's fact. And we thank, and I'm gonna say it right now, I thank the Nashville scene. All of them came to hear why we knew we were not the reason for the shortfall.
Right.
And we brought in the Tennessee National Business Journal, all of them, gave them the data.
Right.
Because the Metro Board of Equalization is not our board.
Right.
We work with them. It's an independent board. We work with them.
Right.
We help to provide the information so they can help them make their decision, but we don't try to say, no, your decision need to be this. They make their own decision. They're independent.
Right.
Those are members of the board that are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the council. So my point is with that is that the National Business Journal, if you go ahead and look it up and say and see how they said it, they said this is not Vivian Wilhoite, and I'm not going to say the word that they word, but that's when real talk is real.
Real talk is real.
Real talk is real.
And so
we got accused, but we were wrongly accused, and that's fact.
The increase happens, and the property tax increase.
When?
2017 when this happens to be that same number, 34%.
2019, Mayor Cooper proposed an increase in the tax rate.
Right.
Tax rate. We don't have anything to do with that.
Right.
Zero. And the reason why that had to be proposed is you saw it, everyone saw it. Davidson County was broke.
Right.
Commissioner Comptroller Justin Wilson came to the Metro Council and spoke to the Metro Council members and told them that, one of your responsibility and obligation is to balance a budget.
Right.
And you got to balance a budget.
Right.
However you do it, legally, you got to do it.
Right.
And guess what? He said, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it. And if it requires a tax rate increase, I'm going to do it. If it requires me to close down certain services, I don't look at people's districts and see what the services need to close down. I'm just going to close them down.
Right.
Because the obligation of the comptroller is to ensure that cities and towns present a balanced budget. So they had to do their due diligence and increase the tax rate, which had not been done
Right.
since 2012.
Wow.
Since 2012. The last tax rate, when this realization came to roost, had been in 2012
Right.
with Carl Dean, Mayor Carl Dean. He did it just before the reappraisal of 2013. He captured that money because remember, in a reappraisal, the city can't do what? Can't generate revenue. They can't generate as a result of the reappraisal. You do get some new revenue, but the revenue comes from the new construction. And if I've expanded my home, so that's a prorate roll, that type of thing. So you can't generate revenue. So a tax rate increase had not happened since 2012 when Mayor Megan Barry was in office. She chose to take that revenue neutral tax rate and kept it the same. It was 3.155. She did not propose an increase to the Metro Council, so it stayed the same. She said she wanted to keep it at 3.155. Metro Council agreed with her and kept it at 3.155, and that's what it stayed all the way
until 2019.
Until 2019, when it was said that we were broke.
How does your office play a part when it comes to assessing property with these new Oracles and Amazons and all of that come into play?
We play a large role because guess what? Our responsibility is to identify, list, classify, and appraise taxable real property, residential, commercial, personality.
Right.
That's our response. So we have to identify that's new property. We have to go out there and identify it. As I told you, when they pull a permit and say we're going to build over here, we are constantly monitoring and inspecting to see how they're coming along.
Right.
If they get halfway built, we begin to pick up some value because guess what? Land is not free.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Land has a value. Okay.
Right.
Materials you're using has a value. So there's something we are valuing at that time, and then it's completed. It comes on board. It's on our tax roll as completed. So we play a major role, and it's going to be quite busy in Nashville as it is right now with the developments that's going on as we speak. And that's one of the reasons why we've asked for increase in positions in our office so that we can be ready and prepared and do an amazing job as I believe that we've done and provided as a product to the property owners of Davidson County. We got to be able to get those people trained, get those employees trained, and that diverse workforce trained to know what is going to be expected of them when they go out to these properties and ensure that we are doing our part.
And that's kind of what I want to kind of tell off the conversation on, like the future, right?
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
how? Because Nashville is not. If it didn't stop growing through a pandemic, it's not going to stop growing at all, right?
And it didn't stop growing. I mean, when we did the reappraisal, we wanted to make sure that we got it right, Jerome. We really did. We sought after getting information from experts, from an expert in the industry, to ensure that we are valuing real property in a pandemic fairly. Okay.
And we had a tornado. We had
Had a flood. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
I have to say it. Mayor Cooper, he's been faced with a lot.
Right.
And through it all, it looks like he's still standing, and we are.
Right.
And we're flourishing right now. And then with all of that going on, but my point is that when we reached out to the administration and asked them to say, hey, we want to make sure we get this right. We want to make sure there's no baked in processes as well.
Right.
We want to know where was the impact in reference to the pandemic. And this was a question being asked by all the assessors all across the United States. And matter of fact, once we were able to retain this professional, Peter Corpaz, the International Association of Assessing Officers asked us to do a presentation. I mean, he's like the guy when it comes to capitalization rates, when it comes to cost approach, things like cost approach and the income approach and what have you. So he came in and gave us an assessment in reference to Nashville. Where were the impacts? The impacts were not on retail. It was not. Lowe's and Home Depot, people were filling those places up. Why? Because that hole in the wall that they've been meaning to fix.
Right. They got time to fix now.
Well, hey, let's just knock the whole wall down. You have time to improve. You know, that's what they did. You know, but hotels suffered. And we looked in the different classifications of hotels where they suffered. You know, we found that fast food restaurants, they didn't do too bad because guess what? Drive-throughs was doing great.
Right.
You got you're not coming in. It's a pandemic. So think about that. They were doing pretty good. So it was a really good parting out of the different classification, dissecting of the different classifications to help us to know where were the major impact. And people buying homes out the roof. As you know, the permits office stated that they had the highest amount of investment in permits in Davidson County history during the pandemic.
That's wild.
Yeah, you saw those cranes still swinging.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Building was still going up.
Right.
So there were some areas that we had to just almost put it down to I wouldn't say zero because they're not that, but we had to do that. And then of course, you know, the Christmas Day bombing, you know, that occurred, and you know, what do you pick up there? Right. Land and the materials that's there. So all of those things we definitely took an account, and we were purposeful in our approach in reference to considering those things that impacts the bottom line to approach value. The work that we do impacts 59% of the city's budget.
Wow.
Yeah, that's huge.
That is huge.
That's huge. You start with a value, and then you take that value, and a percentage of that value is what you pay taxes on.
Right.
All right? The tax rate is then factored in because that's where the city is telling you how much you will pay. Right. What percentage of that amount that's being taxed is how much you would pay. That's why I call the mayor, the Metro Council. They're the tax assessors. I'm not. You know, I'm the assessor, property assessor. So you know, when you think about that being the most stable income stream, and then you factor in the other things that the city needs in order to operate and pay its bills, and that may be grants, that may be money, federal dollars, that may be state dollars that are automatic and earmarked for that city to thrive. But it starts when you think about when the most stable income stream is a tax payment.
And so the last question I want to leave you with is, you know, this growth at some point, right? It got to stop.
What goes up must come down.
What goes up must come down. Law of gravity.
Heck, law of gravity. That's right.
So, does your office project any of that out? Like, hey, well, history tells us once we have like a market like ours that just continues to grow and grow and grow, we're looking at the bubble has to bust. Yeah. And so do you all project that happening, or is it too far out to kind of tell, or do you all project any of that type of data because you all 59% of the city's budget, and property is property, and how people are buying or selling?
We sometimes take a deep dish look, at how things are going by. We're looking at permits that are being taken out and saying that this is not going to stop anytime soon. Right. But, the part about projections, you have to be very careful. Okay. And we're careful because we don't do projections, but knowing what direction we're going, we can project right now that is going to continue. It not up. Right. This growth is going to continue. Right. Why? Because we got Oracle, Oracle, West Nashville, South Nashville development that's coming up. We know what is coming on and coming into the fold. Right. The next 5, 7, so 10 years. That's the reason why we had to ask for more positions so we can prepare ourselves for the product that we have to provide to the city of Nashville and to Davidson County, to the Davidson County residents. So if we had to project right now, we don't see it, slowing down drastically. We have already seen that it's not as much, but it's still real incredible when we look at what we're doing right now. In 2017, the results of the reappraisal was that there was a medium increase of 37%. In 2021, there was a medium increase of 34%. Now, that's a reduction, but it's still wow type of numbers.
Especially in the pandemic.
And we went through a pandemic, a flood,
tornado,
a tornado, a Christmas Day bombing.
Just crisis.
And the pandemic is not over.
Exactly.
Okay? And we still did pretty damn good in reference to growth. So, yes, we sit around, we kick around, and we give our thoughts in reference to, what does the future hold? We have to, because we have to know what to ask for in our budget. But the budget is year to year. But we also know what is very clear. The difference a day could make. All types of scenarios could happen. We got what's going on in Ukraine. We got what's going on in right now, just recently in Buffalo. How all of those type of life occurrences impact the economy is real. Nationally, locally, it's real. And so we're careful in reference to projections overall and speaking about it. But if I had to say in reference to where we're going right now with the things that Nashville is about to unpack and unfold, we're steady ticking upward.
I want to give you an opportunity, if there's anything that we didn't cover, that you just, that you think the listeners and viewers should know about just your role, the city, assessing property, and then, of course, giving people your information to reach out to in your office if they, or just, outreach information, or if they need even a deeper dive into the things that we went into. Like, again, this was a master class, but I want to leave you with those last words.
Okay. Well, I want property owners to know that we want to hear from them. And that could be at any time. It don't have to be in a reappraisal. It's just sometime to get their heads wrapped around how does this work. Whether I see you in the grocery store, I see you at the gym, I need to go to the gym. Or just, on the street, we're just talking, I'm going to take the opportunity to do what I can to inform them at that moment. Because it's all about meeting people where they are. You don't say, oh, give me a call on Monday, or let me give you a call on Wednesday. No. I think at that moment is when, like everybody else, we're busy. That person has the time to hear what you got to say. So take advantage of it. And I wouldn't say take advantage of it, impact it. So when it comes to your property value, check it. See what we're saying in reference to it. But know that it stays the same for the next 4 years until the next reappraisal. Now, there's two things that can impact it to change it. One, if you were to improve your property between one real reappraisal time to another, like add some space, put down some hardwood floor, double jacuzzi, building 2 floors, stuff like that. Just truly improving and making it ultra modern. We'll see those permits, and that would increase your value. Okay, and we'll pick that up. And God forbid, another way your value could be increased is in reference to a storm. A tornado, a flood that has caused your property to not be habitable by a certain time of the year, or your business to not be operative by a certain time of year. We're going to also do our due diligence to adjust that value if it's not done by a certain time of year. So knowing that they can not think that this is too cumbersome for them to understand, that's not true. It should not be. One of the biggest purchases that you'll make in your life will probably buying your home or buying your business, starting that business and owning that business, the location where it is. And if your car, I say this in my presentation, If your car worth more than your home, then you may have your priorities mixed up a little bit, you know. But my point is that you want to take care of what is going to bring about your generational wealth, and what is going to be your biggest asset, because you'll be utilizing that to maybe use money to send your child to college, or buy a car, or to meet some type of some unexpected expense that's come about. You want to protect that. So the value is very important. Give us a call. And in the reappraisal year, don't be afraid to appeal your value. It's easy.
Right.
And we tell people it's easy to do. And it's not personal. We don't take it personal. It's not my house, it's your house.
Right.
We're just meeting our responsibility and trying to do it fairly, and to provide an equitable product, an equitable value to you that we are required to do. So you can reach us by giving us a call at 615-862-6080. You know, that's one of the ways of contacting us. But you can if you want to write a letter, I mean, go ahead. It's snail mail. But, you know, our address is 700, I've forgotten my address, 700 2nd Avenue South, Suite 210.
Okay.
We're there. We are open. We had our doors closed, but we were locked. But you could always come to the door. You come in, and we help you out. But we are open always, 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. And, you know, emailing me any questions you may have at Vivian.Wilhoite, that's spelled Wilhoite, Vivian.Wilhoite at Nashville.gov. Or you can send it in a general email to AssessorWeb@Nashville.gov, and ask your question. You know, if it's something that I think we need to jump on the phone, it's too long to write out, ask your question. You know, I'm going to pick up the phone and call you. Don't be shocked that I'm going to email you at 3 o'clock in the morning, or if I email you at 12 o'clock at night after I finish turning up, why not? I just want to make sure you get the information. We have an amazing website at www.padctn.org. That's www.padctn.org. That gives you a wealth of information regarding some of the things we talked about today. Tax rates. It connects you to the site where you can go and learn about the tax freeze, relief, and deferral program that is operated by the trustee's office to help as a way to be able to get help to pay your tax bill. And of course, other organizations like the Housing Fund, as well as the Metro Social Services. They have a tax assistant program.
Okay.
We can go on and on, you know, to talk about many things that we can do to help you, but it starts with you contacting us, and it starts with us being proactive and contacting you. So we'll continue to be proactive, to come to your neighborhood, meet you where you are, meet you in the church, meet you at the community center, to talk about one of the biggest assets that you'll ever probably buy in your house, in your life. And that's your home or starting your business. It's all about communicating. That's it. It's definitely all about that.
Well, look, you just gave us a master class in property assessment, being the assessor of property here in Davidson County. So thank you for the work that you have done, continue to do, and I appreciate you taking the time to be here with us.
Hey, I appreciate you asking me to be here. It was a pleasure and it was an honor.
All right, and we gotta have you back, because this is like you know, assessing property is something that doesn't never stop.
Yeah, that's right.
And that continued education, I want to do what I can to continue to educate Nashville, and so we got to stay in contact, and hope to see you here soon.
Yeah, hey, it's a deep dish conversation we gotta have.
It is, and
I
deep
love
dish
that.
issues. All right, then, see you later.
Thank you. Take care.